Greetings, family. Shalom, shalom. Welcome to H2HDI. We're here to encourage, equip, and sometimes take you on a journey where you are learning how to become in tune with the Triune. So, without no further ado, I want to thank you and welcome you to H2HDI. Man, it's a little cold. I don't know if you feel it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, anyways, I want to thank you and welcome you. Part of what you go through in life isn't for you, it's for the next generation. Hear me out. What you go through in life isn't for you, it's for the next generation. So some of you are going through hell, I'm just say it like that. Some of you are going through a process that you start to question the morality of who you are. It starts to question who you think you are intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, and even in the soul realm, socially. And what's interesting is that the Father is, taking us on a journey, because he just does that. He says, okay, you want to ascend, I'm taking you on a journey. Take my hand and watch. With my mighty right hand shall I deliver you. But the thing about going through the journey is that you have to go through something I've been saying for countless amount of times as we've been on live stream, which is process. Process sometimes take us to a place where we don't lose, we don't gain, we don't fail, or we don't succeed, but we achieve insight for oversight. What am I saying by that? You neither won nor lost a trial or tribulation. You neither agreed or disagreed, but you actually gained insight about what you are going through in life. So the process that you and I are ascending is that we are all going to something called brokenness. And I was last night and a couple of days just consistently, I've just been dealing with myself. The Father's cracking open the shell in me, and he's I don't know how to explain it, but I can only explain it like this. He deals with your emotions, and when he begins to settle your emotions, then he begins to deal with the matters of the soul. I'm going to say it again. He deals with the matters of the emotions, and once he stabilizes your emotions, now you begin to come into another realm where you begin to use your soul to break. As you begin to break, the Father is going to equip you into coming into a higher dimension where he says, now that your emotions are stable, I can now begin my process in you on how to be broken for me. The Hebrew word for broken is Hebrew lexicon 7665, which is shabar. 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 Hebrew lexicon 7665. And as I was reading brokenness, I was praying the prayer of brokenness. And this was given to me by impartation from both Sheliak and Seer Robert and Virgie Gonzalez. The prayer of brokenness. But what caught my attention in that prayer was that we always say, I'm trying to be broken for the Lord, or I'm trying to do this for Yah, or this and that. But what got my attention was I never checked the word broken in Hebrew. And the word brokenness is something continuous. But the word broken means something that's already shattered. So hear me out. Broken means to break in pieces, be crushed, be wrecked. They're like, why is this minister hearing this, or why is he talking about this? I'm talking about this because I'm forewarning you so you can learn to be so you can bear arms when trials come. Because the purpose of brokenness, hear me out, is this. It is a grain that is placed on a threshing floor or in the millstone and is crushed to burst out of the seeds from the holes. What am I saying? Some of us love to eat peanuts. Some of us love to eat, what other nut has a shell on it? like cashews. What was it? I just had pistachios. And if you understand is that some of that process we got to go through is break that outer shell. So when you allow the Father to break you in the outer shell, now you're going to begin to come into another place where now he says, I see the seed. I see the threshing floor that you are ascending into, but I got to take you through the threshing floor because there's a lot of character flaws that you have that is not of me. Remember, we're all vessels. We are all to be vessels of honor. And yes, we will grow up to be vessels of dishonor in our lives when we disobey. We will learn to be vessels of wood, hay, stubble, and so on and so forth. But we are learning to be meat to eat to be ready for the Maker. A lot of us have to be vessels of honor, and some of us have to learn to be dishonored, so therefore we have the honor of the Father. What am I saying? Every one of us has a family relative that because we began to serve Jesus or even Yahushua, that they begin to dishonor us because here we go again. They don't see us like the way they used to see us. Perfect example. When you were in the world could identify you as one of them. Your whole family relatives, your aunt, your uncle, your brother, your sister, your relatives, your dad, your mom, whoever it is. But why is it for some reason, I'm going to descend to the outer court realm, that you choose to begin to serve Jesus, that you actually come into a place where now you serve Jesus, you accept him as your Lord and Savior, but now everybody around you is starting to hate you, starting to dislike you. They don't want to talk to you anymore. They despise your existence. They thought you were cool because you were one way. But when you began to submit your will unto Yahuah, now what he's doing is he's saying you're exchanging your will for my will. That's the part of being crushed, being broken. Men and women of the world will wreck us. But the Father's still saying, no, although you are persecuted, you are not abandoned, because greater is he who is in you than who is in this world. Yes, you got to go through trials and tribulations, but be of good cheer, for I've overcome the world. So now the purpose of the threshing floor is to burst the grain on the threshing floor. You and I are that grain. Why are we that grain? Because we have a seed within us that as we begin to allow to the process of nurture, I've taken horticultural for 6 years, and I begin to see that it's not an easy task to plant a seed. Perfect example. If you sow a seed and it becomes an apple tree, the process to that apple tree will be different from the sowing seed of an avocado seed. It takes more time. You got to nurture the seed. You got to make sure that when you plant the seed in its rightful place in its due season, so therefore you may know that when and how much dirt around it is moisturized and when and how much dirt is dry. We're still talking about the seed here because the seed and everything that you're going through is there for you to be going through the threshing floor. Perfect example of a threshing floor. There are 7 threshing floors in the scripture. I'm not going to turn there, but I'm only going to show you 2. There's one written in Genesis chapter 50, verse 10 and 11. The threshing floor of Atad. Not Atad, Atad. Remember, it's Hebrew, so I'm not saying, hey, it's Atad or Todd's name, but I'm saying Atad, A-T-A-D, which represents thorns. Some of us have a lot of thorns in our lives because what happened is life chose to hit us down. We didn't allow our souls to allow the process of the word working in us, the word becoming flesh. We didn't allow that process to happen. So what happens? We begin to have thorns within our lives. Or a perfect example, let me show you another what this represents. This is a representation of us that if somebody comes your way in your atmosphere and they're just trying to grasp a hold of you, you have a tendency to bite back or push back or something. But the Father's trying to say, no, I got to take you through that threshing floor because that's not a part of who I am. I'm soft. I'm delicate. I'm smooth. I'm your high tower. I'm your counselor. I'm your El Shaddai, your breasty one. The reason why, and the other one is written in Numbers chapter 15, verse 20, which is called the heave offering, the threshing floor. Let's turn there. Numbers chapter 50, verse 20. Numbers chapter 50. And again, there's a purpose why the seed, why you're going through in life what you're going through. Because again, it's not for you, it's for the next generation. And yeah, I know some of you guys are saying, oh, I had a good day, oh, I had a bad day, or I had a weird day, or I had this kind of day. No, you got to understand what you're going through in life right now, where you are right now is not where you are going. The Father's trying to illuminate, saying, look, you got to grow through this, so therefore you're causing yourself to be advancing and not staying in a realm of protection. You can't be in protection all your life from mom and dad when you got to learn how the Father's still saying, look, I'm telling you in Genesis 1, 26 and 27, take dominion. You can't be in life all your life, be in the cocoon. You got to learn to grow up and grow out. Why? Because you're a seed planted for the next generations of sons. Seed sowing offspring. That's the Hebrew word for seed. Zerah. Seed sowing offspring. And I said I was going to go to Numbers chapter 15. Let me turn there very quick. I'm telling you in the simplicity of the seed-based form of why I'm ministering to you. Because if somebody else, maybe I'm not going to go too far. If the set man of the house is to be here, the message of sonship would differ from that of a message of a son under authority, because he's trying to elaborate the seed-based form of the word working in you. Numbers chapter 15, verse 20. And it says, you shall offer up a cake. Oh, I'm on the right one. A cake on the first of your ground meal as a heave offering. As a heave offering of the threshing floor, so you shall offer it up. Also, there's a threshing floor in your offering. Yes, that's why you got to go through. And I'm saying this from experience. Don't think I'm trying to say because I minister Yahuah's word, this and that, I don't go through it. No. Ministers or disciples, believers, or whoever is bringing the word must go through process in order to perfect the word working in them. Perfection isn't to say that it's all shiny, all gold, this and that. No. Sometimes you got to go through the trenches. Sometimes in life you're going to have to go through where the Father leads you. It can be in the pit, can be in the palace, could be in prison, could be in the high holy of secret places, and the Father saying, I put you through there for you to learn that I'm the one who ascends and descends. I'm the one who sits you in heavenly places, and yet I'm the one who also tells you when you take a knee or bow down to me. That's why it's cool, because the threshing floor speaks of the grain that's being crushed. But I looked at the Hebrew word for grain, and it's Hebrew lexicon 1250. Hebrew lexicon 1250, which is bar, B-A-R. And it's funny because I looked at it, I was like, you're kidding me. So the grain represents bar. And if you've been with us, bar means son, means genealogy, means next generation. Hear me out. The process that you go through is a grain being crushed for the next generation. So what you're doing in your threshing floor, in your trading floor, you're crushing the outer shell in order for it to burst and bring forth a new seed. That's why if you look at it, the word bar, B-A-R, is bet resh, which means the bet is the house and the resh is head, which means the head of the house or the next generation of sons. It's always a man looking inside the house. It's kind of funny. I was actually doing a study on the word batak, and it actually took me to the word where it says a son is to look at the house or in the house to see the perfected work. But anyways, threshing floor. So that's why the grain must be crushed, because in order for the grain to be smooth and for the next generation to receive the seed that you went through, that's why there's that spirit of impartation. It goes from one generation to the next. One thing that ministers have a tendency to do is that from one generation, they rise up and say, I'm going to build a church because this is the vision that Yahuah or the Lord has given me. But then the Father says, okay, what about, and I always had this question before ever meeting Shiliak or before ever meeting anybody or coming into Yeshua. I always said, if that man or woman was called into ministry, who is their ministry son to pick up the next generation and pick up the next mantle for people to come into whatever that man of Yahuah or man of God is laid down before they ever were born? You got to understand there are certain ministries that are laid from one generation to the next generation, because as you grow up and mature, you're going to realize you're going to need a ministry, a servant son who's submissive, a bar. Remember, the threshing floor you go through, sometimes you may not understand the pressure of what you're going through. You may not understand the pain of what you're birthing, but the Father's already has that plan inside of you already, and he's just making you burst it out. That's why if you look at the word shabar, Hebrew Lexicon 7665, which means broken, it means to be crushed, wrecked, the bursting of a grain on the threshing floor. To birth something, a cake. I just read it right here. A part of what you're going through is you're baking a cake. You're learning to bake a cake that's presentable. So therefore, you're learning that as you grow, every pain you went through, every affliction you went through, every rejection that you went through, what you're essentially doing is you're representing it and you're serving a cake to the next generation. Why? Because they want to be partakers of the divine nature that's written in the book of 1 Peter. That's why it's called bar. The grain in Hebrew is bar. That's why when you read Ben or Peter bar Jonah, that's what he was saying. He's saying, son, listen, next generation, listen to what I'm saying. Don't take what I'm saying for granted or lightly. What you're going through is what's going to be helping to fuel the next generation. Because what are we doing? The generation today, I don't know what it was called, Gen Z or Gen X or Gen Alpha, something like that. That next generation is being built up with no foundation, where they think, and if you think I'm hating on this, I'm not hating on it. I'm telling you the truth, that they think the whole democracy between Republican, Democrat, they think LGBTQT, the whole world, that this is the world we are to live in and that everything is acceptable. It's okay for man to like another man. It's okay for a woman to like another woman. We're in 2026. It's about free love. Well, let's put it like this. You have all that free love, everything that was done already back in the 70s, back in early 1900s, years ago. Sodom and Gomorrah was already alive, and the Father destroyed that because he didn't want the next generation to be perpetuated into lasciviousness, idolatry, carnality, bestiality. I'm not going to even go into that, but that's what I'm trying to help you out. We're coming to the end where everything is going to get a lot more worse than it is about to get better. That's why you and I are to be a light of the world, the light of the world, and the salt of the earth. That's why the threshing floor is very important in your spiritual makeup, because if you don't go through it, you become like the chaff, the hollow pieces of the broken seed that never germinated. So what happens is, and I remember seeing this years ago, when they used to, back in ancient times, so they recreated this video a while back, and what they were showing was that they were separating the seeds from the chaff. So when they threw the seeds up, the seeds stayed there in the pan, and the chaff would the wind would come and the chaff would blow all the chaffs away, the hollow pieces. I know what I'm saying. That's why we got to go through it. A part of our makeup is the threshing floor. A part of our makeup is allowing brokenness, the shabar, to be a part of our identity, our lifestyle. Somebody was telling me that's why you got to come into a place of repentance. Not for sin all the time, but what about the mistaken identity of the first Adam that causes us to sin? That's why I'm trying to go to the root of it, because I'm getting dealt with myself. Hear me out. You deal with the root of it, you don't have any more weeds. You pluck them out. That's why I want to read this to you, and I know I was trying to read this in the beginning, but yet, I got carried away with some of these notes, and to help you and I grow more. So listen to this. This is a part of the prayer of brokenness, and like I said, if you want a copy of this, you can email us at bet2betministries@yahoo.com, and we'll be glad to send you a copy. It says this, Job 33, 14 and 18. Once again, Job chapter 33, verse 14 and 18. Yahuah, I know that you speak once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not. Why doesn't man perceiveth it not? Because man is lost in his own identity. He can't see the house. He's never been broken. He doesn't understand the depthness of who our Heavenly Father is. So where do we go wrong? We begin to call him God. We begin to call him Lord, and that's not his name. Those are titles. Those are descriptive titles, descriptive terms that veer us away from the course of what he said. He said, guys, listen. My name is Yahuah, Yah, Psalm 68 and 4. Begin to use my name. You want to rule and reign in the kingdom, you got to restore his name, his feasts, his Sabbath, and his ordinances. Father, make my heart sensitive to your voice. Speak to me in a dream, in a vision, in the night, when in deep sleep, and I slumber upon my bed. Then open my ears and seal my instruction, that I may be withdrawn from my purpose and cut off from pride, so that I am not disgusted with my own disappointing self-sufficiency. Come on, you and I are both in that same posture where we do it our way for so long that we're saying, there's got to be more than life than just working a 9-to-5 job. There's got to be more than just going through the whole ordeal of life. There's got to be more. There is more. Listen to this. Actually, I'm going to read I'm going to go to Job chapter 33, verse 18, and then I'm going to read it to you right there. Job 33, verse 18. And he says this. He says, keep back his soul. Keep my soul from the pit, and his life, and my life from perishing by the sword. So if you understand what he's trying to say is like, save my life from the pit and my life from perishing by the sword. He's not talking about a literal sword. He's literally saying, the author, the sword that causes the division that sometimes we don't like getting our souls bishoped, our souls governed. But yet, if you just stick with the scriptures, with the word, even it's the literal, you're going to watch the seed germinate within you. Remember this, Paul sowed this seed, Apollos watered the seed, but Yahuah always did the increase. So don't worry about how big the tree is. Don't worry about how small the seed is. Don't worry about that, because the Father is in charge of the increase. Again, some sow the seed, some water the seed, but others, Yahuah, will do the increase. Jeremiah chapter 18, verse 2 and 4. I will arise and go down to the potter's house, for then you will cause me to hear your words. The potter's house, if you look at it, you can do a whole research on the potter's house, but deep down, he was saying, get in this more and watch as I'm about to unveil. Don't just read the New Testament. Go back and understand that you can go into from Genesis all the way to the book of Malachi and watch and bring yourself in a position where you're asking Yahuah to take you to a place where you have the mind of Mashiach in order for you to have resurrection, revelation, and Rhema word alive. So when you read Genesis, you're not reading the literal. In the beginning, God created the heaven. No, you're reading, in the beginning, Yahuah created me. He's separating the precious from the vile. He's separating the suke from the nefesh. He's separating me in order for me to go into the potter's house, for then he will cause me to hear his voice. As a vessel on the potter's wheel. O Yahuah, find the marred places in my life and remake me. Make me again into another vessel as it seems good for the potter to make it, a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use. That was Jeremiah 18, verse 2 through 4 on the prayer of brokenness, or should I say the prayer of Shabar. Now, if I'm taking that word out of literal and I don't know how to pronounce it, it's Shabar, I got to roll my R's. Please forgive me, guys, because my whole intent is not to teach you how to pronounce the words. It's for me to show you the function of the words. That's why I look at 2 Samuel, and I'm going to show you this last one, and we're going to go from there. 2 Samuel chapter 24, verse 18. 2 Samuel, and I'm going to read it for you guys. 2 Samuel chapter 8, 24 through 18. And I'm going to end it right here. 2 Samuel. All right, I'm right here. 2 Samuel chapter 24, verse 18. And it says, and Gad came, not God, Gad, G-A-D, came that day to David and said to him, go up, erect an altar to Yahuah on the threshing floor of Araunah, the Jebusite. Excuse me. It's funny was that I had to look at that threshing floor of the Jebusite Araunah, and it's Hebrew lexicon 1637, which literally translates to shout for Yah. Shout for Yah. When you go through the threshing floor, you shout to remove your drought. That's what the Father's trying to teach you, to get that drought out of you. Get that dusty, marred, muck, mire out of you. So therefore, when you shout and you're in the threshing floor, you remove your drought. Sometimes our emotions are full of drought and there's no life in it. That's why the Father's still saying, I'm taking you through the threshing floor, so therefore you may cause yourself to be willing to enter into the kingdom of Yahuah by having eyes to see and ears to hear, that don't listen for its own identity, but listen and be subservient to me, Yahuah, not Josh, not Apostle Robert Gonzalez, not Sylvia, not Elijah, Yahuah. When you begin to walk through the process, though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you will fear no evil. That being said, I just want to thank you and welcome you to H2HDI. Don't forget to hit the like, the share button, subscribe for more. Don't reject and don't neglect brokenness, because brokenness is your portion. It's a part of your identity. Yes, I know sometimes we don't want to go through it, but the Father's showing us, no, son, no, daughter, I'm taking you through this. So therefore you may see and know, Gnosko, know me. Be qualified to enter into my presence. Be qualified to enter into me. Because intimacy is broken down, and it was pretty cool how Sheliak did it. He said, intimacy is into me you see. That's intimacy. It's pretty cool how he broke it down. So until we see each other again, just want to thank you. Don't forget to hit the like, the share button, subscribe for more. We have our TerrorBites live Tuesday at 7. We have Intune with the Triune live every Wednesday at 7. And we have our Sabbath live stream live every Saturday from 12 to 1. And if this is your first time watching and you're being judgmental because I said Saturday, Shabbat. Don't be. Because we're here to help and to equip the saints that are leaving the pagan Jezebel church, the Babylonian church realm, and establishing him in present truth. Sometimes, and listen to what I'm saying, if you're watching this for the first time, don't be judgmental and pass us on, because sometimes we have to go back to condescend and descend to their level to bring them up and to ascend into the new level of Yahuah. Perfect example, some of you were using Jesus Christ, Lord. You guys love that name so much. You prayed to Jesus Christ, Lord. Some of your prayers were answered, but then you stopped, went to Yahushua, and now you have a strong bitterness to people who use Jesus Christ, Lord. I know I'm saying it because I was going through it. I was bitter to the people who use Jesus Christ, Lord, because it's not the name. Of course it's not the name. But we, as the older generation who know before the foundations of the world, the Son's name was Yahushua. The Father's name was Yahushua. And the new name, Jesus Christ Lord, and the new title, Lord, and the descriptive term God were substitutes during around 1100, or not 1100, 1500 AD. Or, no, I'm sorry. It was created, Council of Nicaea created the name Hail Zeus Krishna, transliterated today as Hail Jesus Christos. So Hail Zeus Krishna became Jesus Christo in 325 AD. Bringing it up to 1611, it was Jesus Christus in the King James print version Bible, 1611. You can Google that and get a free downloaded copy of a PDF of the King James print or King Yamis print in 1611, and watch. The letter J was only introduced in our vernacular since even a couple years before that. But it was in print by King James in 1611. So until we see each other again, guys, don't be afraid to be entering into the threshing floor with your Father. Why? Because he already went through the threshing floor. We're just walking with him through it. So therefore, as we go through it, we're growing through it. So until we see each other again, Boker Tov, Lila Tov, whatever time frame, whatever time zone you're watching, be Baruch. And please study these scriptures, study these terminologies I gave you, so therefore nobody can deceive you, but you are coming into a realm where now as you begin to put your pen to parchment, you author it. You authorize what you have written based in the scriptures, or even the scriptures themselves. So until we see each other again, you guys be Baruch, Boker Tov, Lila Tov, Shalom, Shalom. We love you all here at H2HDI. Shalom.